Good afternoon, everybody. It is Sunday. What's today? March 14th. I'm Ian of Austin. I am your realtor in the Austin area. Listen, I've got a special guest today. I think it's an interesting question. We as realtors in this area, at least, get this question a lot. Where are people moving for X? And so I brought Marysol on with me today. And so I'm going to let her come on and we're going to talk about a few things. We're going to talk about things like crime and school and the different locations and the reasons why people are choosing them. So I'm pulling her on right now. Marysol, how are you today?
I'm doing well, thank you. My name is Marysol Armstrong, and I'm a realtor here in the Austin and surrounding areas. I've been a realtor for some time. This is my 7th year, I believe. So,
Ooh.
Yeah, very excited to share everything with you.
Did I say your name right? Marysol? Marysol?
Marysol, yes.
Marysol. I'm trying, right? So for anybody who doesn't know.
You did just as good.
Thank you. So for anybody who is curious, so Marysol also speaks, she's bilingual, so she also speaks Spanish. So if you have questions for an agent and you would like to be able to converse in Spanish, then give her a call. She would be more than happy to help out. So why don't we start off with things like, let's see, the first one is, do you know of any projects that are happening in the area that are exciting people today? Like
Yes,
development projects.
There are several development projects happening, especially in the north side.
Okay.
You know, and that's, I think, because they're not landlocked like Central Austin. So one of the projects that people are really, really excited about is North Line.
Yes.
North Line is basically, it's expected to be very much like the Domain, but in Leander. So it's going to be located in 183, the toll 183 in San Gabriel. So everyone's really excited about that. And so I do know, go ahead.
I was just going to say, for those of you that don't know, North Line, the reason why that's so important, or anything like the Domain, is because it's a mixed use development. So sometimes you have movie theaters, you have living, so like condos or townhomes, and then you have all sorts of restaurants, and just all of it's in one space, making it very walkable. And so that has a huge impact on the area around it.
Yes. And it's going to be very easy to access because it's going to be right there, right off of the 183 toll. And it's one of my favorite highways. The speed limit is 75. That's great. And there's never heavy traffic there. Like, you can be there at 5:30 p.m. You can be there at 7 o'clock in the morning. I mean, it's fantastic. So
I'm going to share it right here for the people that are on the live stream. So right now you can see this is North Line. So this is 183. And then you have Liberty Hill up here, downtown Austin here, right? East Austin, Manor, Pflugerville, and then North Line. It's listed as Leander Economic Development, but they've got North Line Station going over here.
Yep.
That's a cool spot. How about Leander Springs? Have you seen that one?
You know, I've seen a lot on that. I just didn't know that they had been, it's been confirmed that they're going to build that. Do you have any intel on that? Is it for sure?
They're already taking investors. So I was driving by North Line a couple days ago, and they've already cleared the ground. They're ready to go. As far as Leander Springs, I haven't been over there in a little bit, but it looks like they're clearing out at least that section for the HEB. But I bring this up because, I mean, just look at this. It looks really cool.
It's really awesome.
Look how much money they're putting into this. So if somebody says, where should I move? A development like this is often a good place for people to target. The thing is, this isn't the only one. There's a lot of them, right? There's
lots of them. Yeah.
We just mentioned 2 that are in Leander.
Yeah. There's a new one too in Cedar Park, which is very, very close to this anyway. I'd say maybe 15 to 20 minutes max, which is the North Bell Boulevard project. And that is also a mixed use. Same thing. They said it's going to be very similar to the Domain.
Do we know what that's called?
I believe it's called the North Bell Boulevard.
Okay, so it's going to be over in this area.
Yes.
All right.
It's basically
Just
where the old
of,
183 is.
okay, just east of Brushy Creek.
Yep.
Okay. We got another one. Check this out. Don says Velocity. Have you heard of Velocity?
Oh, yeah. I've heard of Velocity too. I don't know that much about it, but I've heard of it as well.
So I have that pulled up. It's actually going to be right here, just east of the airport. So anybody who's looking in Del Valley right now, which is a really, really hot area, depending on so many factors, your price point, especially, this is, I mean, and your proximity to the airport. That's huge.
It's huge.
It is. So I'm going to pull that up.
Speaking of Del Valley and Velocity,
Here it is.
sort of area.
Check it out. Sorry.
Wow.
Go ahead.
I'd say one of the neighborhoods that excite me the most, and you know, as a realtor, I see so many. It's hard to get excited about certain neighborhoods, but Whisper Valley is one of those neighborhoods that I think is the future of neighborhoods in general. It's a really, really cool concept. Not sure. I know you are familiar with it as well, Ian.
Oh yeah, I love Whisper Valley.
How do you feel about it?
I think the issue, so there are positives and negatives with something like Whisper Valley. So I'm going to jump over to Whisper Valley real quick. And the reason why it's so cool is because one of the reasons why is because it is a net zero community, right? So that means all of their, you have geothermal heating and cooling, you have solar panels that are supposed to help with electricity. And at the end of the day, you should not have to spend any money on those utilities. Give or take.
It's okay. So it's a net zero capable community.
Yes. Thank you.
And that, you know, people do I always like to highlight that because you are still connected to Bluebonnet Energy. And that's because, a few things, and this is something that I didn't know, but solar panels, when it's not sunny, they don't give you any energy. I thought I was under the impression that you could gather it and it'll be there for when you want to use it. No, it's not that way unless you purchase a battery, which can be pretty expensive, like 10,000 perhaps. So it could be a good investment. But anyway, you are hooked to Bluebonnet Energy, and that's just to kind of make up for any shortage that you have from your solar panels and your geothermal energy grid, which is all over, Whisper Valley. Like before the builders get to build the homes, the grid is there, and it pumps air down to the ground, and it cools and it heats with that special system that they have to do both of those things. So it is capable of having your bill to be $0, but most people have a small bill. And I do know some people that are so good with their consumption that is basically zero, or Bluebonnet has to pay them for energy that they have created and they didn't use out of their, monthly fee. So very cool concept as far as that goes. They have a few gardens there where some residents cultivate their own vegetables, and then they have cooking classes, and they use the produce that they cultivate to make recipes. And then they have yoga on the weekends, and they have that pool that's also heated geothermally, and it's open most of I don't know that I'll say year round, but it's open a lot longer than most community pools out there. So there's a lot of really, really cool things about it. So those are the positives.
Yeah, I love it. I'd say it's a very tech forward community and energy conscious community. Here's what I've noticed. So those are some positives. What I've noticed is, I'm not going to call it a negative, I'm going to call it a cost of living adjustment. The prices, holy goodness, have the prices skyrocketed there.
Yeah.
I mean, they've skyrocketed everywhere. But so I just want to pull it up so people see where it's at. I think that's important. So when we look,
20 minutes from downtown,
it is
close to the
really
airport.
Close. It's like right here, right?
Yep.
So just east of Walter E. Long, just north of where Tesla is going to be along this 130 corridor. So it's not far from a lot of things. However, it feels far because all this green space right now.
Yes, it does. And right now, you do still have to drive to, like, say, Pflugerville to get to, your shopping, like, shopping center, groceries, everything like that. So that's one of the drawbacks, just like you said, about Whisper Valley. And the prices have gone up so much this past, I'd say, at least a year, that they have just skyrocketed. It wasn't like that. You could get a Whisper Valley home for 3,000, for 350, and it's a beautiful home. Now you can't get in there for less than 5 for most builders.
It's crazy. And I was telling people about it. I was like, hey, you should try. Hey, this is a great spot. But sure enough, fast forward a year and people, I'm not saying people can't afford it, but it's definitely outside of their original price target.
Yes.
Mark says Google Fiber. Heck yeah.
Oh, yeah, Google Fiber. Yeah, very fast internet out there.
Yeah, I would say that it's nice to have a community that's dedicated to providing you Google Fiber that isn't just downtown Austin. So that's a really cool little perk.
Yeah.
And fiber.
And all the homes, sorry.
No, you go ahead.
And all the homes come with a smart package, which is like the Google Home, like fob, I believe. Smart locks, Nest, and Google Fiber. So there's a lot of really, really cool things. I find that a lot of my California buyers are really, really attracted to this development.
Okay.
I had a client last year that we were looking in North Austin and East Austin, just several areas of Austin, and it wasn't even in his radar. And I said, hey, there's this community. I told him a little bit about it, and he thought, oh, that's kind of cool. And I'm like, let's go tour and see what you think. Like, I really wasn't expecting anything to come out of it, but I wanted him to see, what his money could get him in different parts of Austin. And we went there, and lo and behold, he fell in love, and he signed like right there and then. It was, and he loves it there. He's just so happy. So I think for the right person, it's great. But just like you said, it's an adjustment. And also people don't expect those kind of prices in that area because they're like the Valley. But it's a different animal. Do you know that Whisper Valley also, because it's Manor, it's a Manor zip code. But they're going to have their own zip code. The only and it's going to be Whisper Valley, Texas. The reason why they have Manor zip code is because they're just too small to have their own zip code right now. They're have that, and then schools are the Valley, and everything else is Austin, like City of Austin, utilities and whatnot. So taxes are really good too.
So you said schools are Del Valley. I want to say that's important, right? Because a lot of people, they'll say, well, it's in Manor. How is the school district in Del Valley? Or why isn't it in Austin? And I think it's important to know. So for people that are listening that have not lived here or have not looked deep into it, the school district, you have to check that the school district actually resides in the city that you plan on it being in. So there are houses that are in Georgetown, for example. You buy it in Georgetown, you might be in a Liberty Hill school district, but paying taxes to Leander, right? Like, so you gotta ask your realtor those kinds of questions. So I think it's really important. I wanted to go back to Don's velocity comment because I thought it was a really good development, and we didn't really get to touch on what it is or where it's at. So it's another mixed use. It's south or east of the airport, 314 acres, huge. And so it shows kind of where it's at, right? So all of this space here is going to be part of this project. They're adding a park in the middle, pedestrian trails. Onion Creek is a popular hike and bike trail that's around here, and they're putting it just east of the airport. So I think Mark had added a question. He was asking, where's he at? Here it is. I'm going to share this. So I'm going to remove that. Okay, so I'm going to leave you to answer this one, Marysol. What type of impact do more domain-style complexes have on the general Austin area? So, because the market's already insane is what Mark's saying. So when you're adding more domains all over, more Muellers, what do you think that's going to do?
The same thing it's the city has been doing for a long time, which is attracting people, attracting talent. Not long ago, I went to a seminar and we touched on the topic of how special and interesting and different Austin is as a city attracting the talent. Because most of the times, the the companies, the big tech companies, move to cities that make sense to them financially for the most part, and then that attracts the workers. And Austin is the reverse, where the people are saying we want to be in Austin, and that's making the companies move here because here's where the talent is and here's where the talent wants to live. So that's a very different, sort of a way of attracting and things that are happening in our city. So more domain like projects are only bound them into to attract people and increase property values, just like the domain. I think the domain was one of those things that popped up a few years back, and it's so successful and people really like it, and it's been a huge success. So then it's no wonder why other parts of the city want to also have that same sort of success.
Yeah, I think I'm going to echo that sentiment. I think people are moving to areas that have this type of magnetism, right? So if you go to an area, think about what people want to do. So they either want to A, be in their house, right? B, be around friends, C, be in nature, or D, have access to like things in the area, right? So things to do. Work, while they need to be able to get to and from work, I think that's kind of fleeting as more people are working remote, but it is important to, if they have to go in. So really it's about entertainment. All of this is about how much fun can you have, or do I need privacy? So the Domain and Mueller are both, they're hubs. People are like, man, I want to go hang out in Mueller. Do you go to Mueller often? Or the Domain?
Go often. I go to the Domain more than Mueller. It's more, it's closer to me. And that's probably why I favor the Domain as opposed to Mueller. But yeah, very similar. And it's one thing that I really like about it is that the walkability of it.
Yeah,
it's really nice to, and even just for a fun weekend, you can stay at a hotel there with your girlfriends, and you can go have great food, and you can go shopping, and then at night you can go to the club and then walk to your hotel. Like, how amazing is that? That's great. And especially because a lot of other places in our city are not walkable. They're not walking friendly. Like, if you don't have a car here, it's public transportation is
That's a huge point for people that are not from here. Public transportation has not yet caught up to where people want it to be. So that's why there's so much emphasis on these little micro communities. So I pulled up the Domain and I shared it just so people can kind of get a feel. So here's UT Austin, here's downtown. The Domain, they're trying to recreate the feeling of downtown, a little more cool, not as big. It doesn't feel as big. Look at the reviews, 4,200, 4.5-star views. Like, people actually like it there.
Yeah,
they go in, like you said, the people, if you want to go to a club and then go to the Apple store and then go have a nice dinner, not in that order, but if you wanted to go do all that, it's all there for you. And we have at least 10 of these projects going on right now all over Austin.
Yeah. You can do it all. I mean, you can get a haircut, there's spas there, there's all kinds of shopping, there's restaurants, there's hotels, like everything you need. There's a grocery store, there's a Whole Foods there too.
Yeah, Whole Foods is right in the middle. And it's kind of the same thing with Mueller District here, for the people that don't know. And another thing I wanted to add to this, so we said Domain and we said Mueller, but you know what kickstarts a lot of it? HEB. Do you feel that way?
Yeah, HEB is king here.
It kickstarts a lot of these huge commercial developments. So if you want to be, in the know of where to move, like people are asking where to move, where is HEB starting to build their next door? It's just crazy to me. And it's a beautiful little area.
I have some friends that have moved out of here, and they said, one of the things that I miss the most is HEB. So
I just have to pull this up real quick. That is my priority list. Tech, food, and then how long does it take me to get somewhere? I love that. All right, so let me remove this. Let's see. We have another question that came up. We have Yuldiz. She says she's building with Dries and Leander. And
beautiful builder. Really great builder.
Love Dries. I don't think I've ever heard anybody share a complaint with Dries.
They're a fantastic builder. One of the top ones out there for sure.
I would almost say price, but you can customize almost everything. So the price is what you make it. But the base price is a little, set you back a sec.
It's a higher end builder for sure.
It is.
So
It is. So the question though is some sort of green technology, and don't bother installing solar. Would you recommend that she go and install solar? And I think this applies for anybody that's building a home, whether it's resale or new build.
And
I like
this is that a great question. Here is what I tell most of my clients. As far as solar panels can be very, very expensive. And that's, if you purchase them, I know that some people lease them, which is, a different approach. But here's the thing, if you think about resale, and I tell my clients, even if you're right now, you just bought your house, you're thinking, I'm going to stay here forever. You're not even thinking about resale. Think about resale, because you never know what's going to happen in the future. You might want to move, something might change. So always keep your resale value in mind. So if most of your neighborhood does not have solar panels, it's more than likely not going to give you that return in your investment, first of all. And then something that people don't really understand, and even I don't understand, but the panels do not add any value per se to a home. If you send an appraiser out there, it's going to tell you those solar panels are worth nothing to the appraisal. So that's definitely a drawback on that, in that sense. So
I tell people that it's an intrinsic value, right? So knowing that you can possibly save $50 to $100 a month. You can save more, or there's a guaranteed savings of more if you have that battery backup you were talking about, right? But that's
how much is that battery? Yeah.
That's assuming you do the math and you figure out how much is it for the solar panels, how much is it for the battery, and then how long does it take you for you, like in savings, if it's $50 a month, how long before you recoup those costs? And will you be able to sell the house later with that additional cost? I think right now the market is increasing in price enough to where you'll be able to recoup the costs. So is it worth considering going solar? My next challenge is going to be my next challenging question, and you tell me how you feel about this, Marysol. What did we just have happen 2-3 weeks ago?
As far as
in the weather.
Yeah, Snowmageddon, as I call it.
Yeah, exactly, Snowmageddon. So people that
the snowpocalypse.
People that had both solar and battery backups, both should have had a better situation when power came around. When those areas lost power. That's not always the case, but it's important. So
I'd say so.
Mark asked this question: after snowpocalypse, are generators also no benefit to value? They're not really a benefit to value because you can get those, anywhere for relatively cheap. It's like if you put shutters on your house, like it makes it look better. And sure, it's a little functional, but it's not like people aren't going to pay you because you did that. The thing is, generators, you can't find those right now. They're really tough to find because of snowpocalypse. Now, those are gas powered. I was shopping for a generator yesterday, and I called a secret place, and they were like, "Yeah, we've got tons of them." All electric generators, though. They were not gas.
Yeah, exactly. And what good is that if you don't have electricity? I live in Leander, as you know, and we lost power several times, and we just had a little bit of power for an hour, and then it'll go out again. And saving grace was that we have gas, natural gas, and that I was able to collect a bunch of snow in a big pot and then boil it to flush the toilets. And that was, I consider myself lucky, because if you have an electric stove, you're out of luck. So and it was a hellish 5 days. But then when you think about it, is how often that this happened. This was like, I believe it hasn't, the temperature has not dropped out like in the last 60 years or something like that in the city. So that chances are the next time this happens, most of us are not going to be here.
Just to be frank about it, right?
I mean,
we're not going to be here the next time.
We're not. Yeah, we're good. I believe.
So I really like thinking about this specifically because the neighborhoods that people are choosing, have people been asking you that, whether or not it's a gas or an electric neighborhood? I don't think when people come here, they realize that we have so many that are non-gas neighborhoods. No, you have no natural gas.
Yeah, or propane.
Or propane. It's all electric, like an apartment, you know?
I have to say most of my clients
houses like that.
Yeah, most of my clients are particular about that, and I can understand that. I'm not a huge cook, but I can appreciate a gas stove. I wouldn't just cross off a neighborhood or a home if it only had electric. But it's definitely a plus. I have had clients that said, if there's no gas propane, I'm out. Like they are not doing electric stove. So that's really big. And neighborhoods that there's just no gas lines. So it's all you have.
Well, and what's
Whisper
crazy
Valley.
Yeah, Whisper Valley. That's a perfect example. What's crazy about that is I don't know if people know this, but I've kind of seen a correlation between if it's a natural gas neighborhood and it's out in the middle of nowhere. Mm-hmm. When I say out in the middle of nowhere, like Liberty Hill or Del Valley or something, Pflugerville, and they bring natural gas, you're going to pay more in property taxes.
That is an interesting...
Because they have to bring it out there, right? So Santa Rita Ranch, for example, the property taxes are a lot higher than they would have been if they just left everything all electric.
I did not know that.
It's because of that mud tax that they add on, right? So
that to have gas. And then my argument will be, I think it's worth it 110 times %, just because I know that most people are going to want that anyway. And Santa Rita Ranch is a huge success, huge. It's incredible how much has grown out there. It's a beautiful community. It's a little far, even for me, but it is stunning. I have a really good friend that lives there, and she loves Santa Rita Ranch.
Yeah, I think it's a gorgeous community. It's
nice.
a little flat, like topography wise, but otherwise, I think it's a beautiful community.
It's so really nice.
I agree with this, Don. I think anybody within a 25-mile radius of the new Tesla Terra factory, not even Gigafactory anymore, should get a discount on solar roofs. So I learned a little trick, or I heard a little trick. I don't have a solar roof. If you have a solar roof and it snows like that, all you have to do is turn the roof on and it'll melt the snow.
Wow.
That's
so
crazy.
Sad. I know everyone is so worried about the snow, but the truth is, I've lived here in Austin for the last 15 years, and we get, a few little snowflakes every 3 to 4 years. And this is the only time that we've gotten 6 inches, and everybody's just like, oh my God. And like I said, chances are this is not going to happen again.
Yeah, I just,
watch it happen next year, and then they're going to come.
I know people want to be prepared.
Come back to me like, she said that.
I had a client who had just moved here from Tallahassee, Florida. Mm-hmm. And he and his wife had been here a solid week, and then they were stuck in the house. And I was like, I'm promising you the weather's not normally like this. So we continuously have that banter. It's really funny.
I have clients from Chicago too.
Oh yeah.
Came to escape the cold, and then this happened. So
I'm from Chicago, and people say, aren't you used to this? No. You never that's why we left. We were trying to get out of this. So Valerie Santana, that's a pretty name, says, thoughts on KB Homes in Manor, 20 minutes from downtown, 20 minutes from Domain Mall, 20 to 30 minutes from Round Rock Outlet Mall. So I have something to say about this, but why don't you tell me what you think about her question?
So thoughts on KB Manor. Manor has been very popular for, a lot of reasons, and especially the location more than anything. KB, and just to be completely transparent, did not have the best reputation, for a few years as being a very high quality builder. However, I'd say that I've seen some communities recently that have, changed my mind, and I know that they have amped up their game as far as quality and other things. So that's what I would say about them. I don't have any clients at KB, KB Manor at the moment or recently. So that's all I can say about them. It looks like you have a lot in your mind.
Well, I'm just making sure we're not blasting them on the internet, but I had some some clients who tried to purchase a KB home, and this was not very long ago, and they ended up going to a different community. The builder's supposed to give your earnest money back. They said that we'll give you your earnest money back. It has been 6 months, and they still, to this day, have not received their earnest money back. I think what happened is their bank ended up having to pull it or something to that effect. It was just quite frustrating. And then there are a couple other little nuances, but overall, I think I'm going to agree with you. Like, their build quality seems to have improved over the years. So I wouldn't say I'd shy away from it, but I also wouldn't say it's a Drees. It's not a Drees.
Yeah,
it's just different. They're completely different tiers of products and everything.
Completely different tiers. So that's all I can say about that. And speaking of that earnest money in builders, that's actually, I know it's taken a while, and I'm sure that you will get that earnest money back to your clients, some way. But a lot of builders, and I'm seeing this now, especially with this, high demand, that they're amping up, everything on their contract. And most builders are doing non-refundable earnest money. Just last week, I had somebody contracted at Bar W Ranch.
Yes.
With a builder there.
Right?
Yes, I wasn't gonna say that, but yes. And so guess how much they asked for earnest money? $63,000 for earnest money. That's, usually for builders it's like 1,000, maybe 3,000. I mean, this is 63,000, or you're out.
Whoa!
We won the bid.
Let me take a step back. The earnest money deposit was the earnest money plus any kind of increase premiums due to build upgrades, right?
Yes.
So the total deposit was
$63,000. Yes. Home price is 73. Just to give you, we're not talking $1 million. So yeah,
$63,000, and they couldn't get it back.
Non-refundable. No.
Oh, that hurt.
And I asked them, and I said, hey, what if, and I talked to the rep, I said, what if my clients lost their job? What if they had to move back home because they were from a different country? And they said, well, if that happened, if they lost their job or some other sort of, big, event that was causing them to fall out of contract, then the DR Horton will think about it, analyze a case by case situation, and they will more than likely give them their earnest money back. But per the contract, it is non-refundable. 63,000.
It's so great. That's the highest I've heard with DR Horton build.
I couldn't believe it. I had to call, and I'm like,
wow. So Valerie, I just want to say thank you so much. That's a super chat. Yes, I appreciate you very much. I think, like you said, the getting what you pay for, it's true. Right now, we're in a market where things are quite cost prohibitive because they know how many people want to come here. So I think, and this is my straightforward assessment. I talked about this on other channels. I know we've on different channels. If you are able to get something in Austin at a reasonable price, even if it's over listing price, the value should continue to increase year over year for quite some time because of how much industry is coming to the area. So I'm not, I don't know if you already went under contract with KB Homes. I still think you're going to come out on top. That's the answer to that. I think it's really important to know that. And I also want to say, Ulysses, thank you so much. I appreciate it. I think the time-sensitive content is kind of the hope that these lives are going to bring to everybody, because you're right. I think there are a lot of questions that are in the air today. So we're happy to be able to answer that. So Drees is a beautiful builder. I want to come hang out. I'm
Congrats on that.
Throwing that out there.
Congrats on the KB home too, because honestly, just to be able to get on a builder, to any builder, and to get a home, that's, it's almost like winning the lottery. Even, the list, we hear about lists are over 300 people of interest just to get under contract with a builder. So that's why the demand is the reason why these builders are having, a fantastic day, and they're taking advantage of it. Like, that's for sure. Yes, lumber prices have gone up and costs costs, but they are like, ooh, let's take advantage of this. So there, I've seen major increases, and I don't believe it's all about material costs. Like, I'm just gonna say that.
So
I love my builders. I love my builders, but it's true.
As do I. I think these builders, I mean, I love working the resale market and working the new build market. Mm-hmm. And it's just, I'm not saying they aren't taking advantage. Let me say that. I'm not saying they aren't. But the costs, like lumber just 2 weeks ago, went up by a factor of three times more for the same piece of wood.
Wow.
So it's crazy. If they had already have the wood stockpiled, like I'll use D.R. Horton as an example. I'm assuming that being the largest landowner in Texas, they should already have a lot of lumber stockpiled. I could be wrong. I don't know anything about that side of their business, but if they do, then they shouldn't be charging people. And this is not D.R. Horton. I will say I have seen other builders. I have seen builders send email to clients saying, hey, lumber costs have gone up. We know you're under contract, but we're going to change your price.
Yes.
And
I've
you have
seen
to
that
adjust.
too.
So
that is not a good. Not good, but it's not a pleasant conversation to have with your client. It's very hard for people to understand that this is happening, and a lot of builders are putting that on their contracts too. That the final sales price is subject to change because of material costs. So that's scary for a lot of people. They're like, okay, so we're going under the contract for $450, but maybe it's going to be $500. Like.
Yeah, like
when we close.
Right.
Exactly. They're not knowing that
so I didn't have to deal with it. So and this is important because our conversation is, where are people moving? Well, it's often dictated by where they can get a house in their price range and fall in line with the builders and the schools and the crime and all that sort of thing. So if let's say you're only looking for new build. I have clients that only want new build. Mm-hmm. Well, if you're only new build and you're in a price range of $350 to $500, you're locked in certain locations today. You're locked. It's hard to get something in that price range in Cedar Park. Just throwing that out there.
Oh, yeah.
Like near impossible unless you have some secret sauce off market, which every once in a while that happens, but it is.
I know you have some secret sauce. I'd say for that, yeah, Leander and Liberty Hill.
Yeah. Yeah.
For that matter.
Yeah. I'm going to pull up
Georgetown too. There's some gems out there that I really like. Some communities that are really, really beautiful.
I think I like Georgetown too. I think it's hit or miss for some people, not myself, but for some people because of what the school ratings are.
And those are so all over the place. Oh yeah. So yeah, I like Rancho Siena because it's Georgetown, but they have Liberty Hill schools.
I love Rancho Siena. Like if I bought a house,
beautiful.
A primary residence, I like the topography. I like being up on a hill and looking around and saying, what's going on over here? What's going on? I just love that. So Rancho is one.
It's so beautiful.
I also like the thought of being near more nature, right? So Rancho seems to be like one of those suburbs that in a suburb, it's near a lot of things, but it doesn't have that feeling of you're out in the middle of nature, like Dripping Springs or even further out in Bastrop or something like that. So I kind of miss that. So what else do I want to pull up? So no names.
Dripping is really nice too. Yeah. And Dripping has great schools as well. So
Dripping does have beautiful schools.
Fantastic,
and that's the thing.
schools.
There are a lot of people that are going up north. I think right now the prices, outside of Dripping, but the prices are a little more favorable south and east, unless you go really far north. And when I say really far, I say something like Gerald. Here's the thing. Right now, the travel time, I don't think people necessarily understand this when they're outside of Austin. So let's say I've got a client in New York, for example. Before they move here, I don't think they understand that that's 75 miles an hour in a day that doesn't have a lot of traffic, like on a Sunday. It only takes you 20 minutes, 30 minutes to go from Georgetown to south, just downtown Austin. Like it doesn't take you very long because you're driving 85 miles an hour if you take the toll road. Now, what it changes is if traffic cannot keep up. I think that's such a big concern here, how they're handling that in the Austin area. So with more people working from home, more remote jobs, I think it's pretty good.
It's good, but we don't know. I think you were going to see more traffic, or just kind of like going back to our people working from home and people, kids not going to school in person traffic, which was pretty brutal. We just, we're still increasing lanes and adding roads, but the reality is the city is not prepared. We're not able to keep up with the demand and with the number of cars. So I tell people, depending on traffic, it could take you 30 minutes. It could take you 2 weeks.
You lived in Houston for a bit, right?
Yes.
Okay. Would you say the traffic in Houston is better or worse?
When I was there, it was pretty bad because they were actually in the process of expanding I-10. And so if you are familiar with that, but it was a few lanes, and then now it's like 50 lanes. Like, I'm not kidding, it's so wide, and even, it still gets kind of traffic in there.
Yeah. And that was years ago.
From my experience, I think Austin traffic is worse. Yeah.
What? Stop. You stop. No.
Yes.
Really?
Have you been to the Apocalypse at 5:30?
No, I don't even know what that is.
Yes.
We're going to have to talk about that. I don't know what you're talking about. So Joy, she mentions time to switch to more sustainable building materials. You know what? That is a really good point. Austin, we just released, I believe, the United States first 3D printed home development in Southeast Austin, Southeast. So you can get a 3D printed condo that starts at a list price of $473 in Austin proper, freestanding. You're not sharing walls with anybody.
$473. I mean, that's still. Let's talk about this. That's
listing.
That's a pretty penny.
That's listing price, and yeah, it probably didn't cost them anywhere near $200,000 to print it. I don't know. It's still early technology, but almost $500,000 plus with our increase at 20 or 30% increase over list price. You're paying a pretty penny, but it is sustainable and it's really cool. I'm following that project pretty closely.
And that's great. I think that's all, the great ideas. Anything that's better for our planet is I'm up for. But how long is it going to take for that to catch up with it being a better price? Or
yeah. Well, that's going to be a question here in a second too. I wanted to comment on Patrick. He said, "Wait till an earthquake happens in California. Makes the snow look like Wonderland." Oh, so right. So I've never been involved in an earthquake or tornado.
Lucky you.
Have you?
Yeah, I grew up in Mexico City, and there's lots of earthquakes. And actually, when I was 6 months after I was born, they had the biggest earthquake they've had in Mexico City in I think ever. So it was a 4.7 or something, pretty out there. A lot of buildings that collapsed. There was, we had to move out of the city for a few months. And I've lived through several where you feel like, ooh, I mean, I know I'm familiar with it. So it could be very, very devastating, and
wow,
there's no telling when that's going to happen. So it's a little scary. Yeah, for sure. So, but if they ask me, hey, do you want the snow or the earthquake? I'll take the snow.
Yeah. Wow. I did not know that. I've been in Mexico City one time, and all I'm going to say is I was not worried about whether or not there was going to be an earthquake. That's all. Wasn't worried about that. So, Mark, let's see. I wanted to build in Wolf Ranch, Hillside, or South Fork. Okay, so in Georgetown, but they had hundreds on the wait list and only release one lot per month. So that's a very common theme right now, where these builders are doing just small lot releases. And that's if you want to build. What is more popular is they're doing inventory releases. So have your realtor get you on an inventory list, which might be 400 people, 600 people deep, but you'll get in that your realtor will get
deep.
Yeah, your realtor will get an email stating that this house is available. When you get that email, you need to already be pre-approved, B, understand what you're getting, because you can't change it after that point. And C, be comfortable with the price and probably a 10% adjustment for appraisal, because even builders, knowing what they're doing, they're going just a little bit higher because they know they can get away with it, like we were talking about earlier.
Yeah. And you know what, to be prepared for that earnest money, because like I just said, I'm seeing increases on that. So make sure that you have it in hand because that's how they're doing it. They're like, okay, you're up on the list. You want to get on the contract. You have 24 to 48 hours to sign everything and give us the earnest, or we're moving on to the next person. So for Mark, same advice as you gave him. The best thing is to have, a really sharp realtor you onto those lists. And a lot of times, this list, I tell my clients, and it's not going to be a popular thing, but they could be as good as the paper they're written on. So having those relationships with the builders as a realtor makes a big difference. And, checking in, like I am calling those reps night and day until they're so tired of me that they're going to call me to tell me that something came up for my clients. And it's what it takes. And that's my job, getting you this house. So
I'm gonna start giving out some of my hats to these builder reps, just so they're like, "Oh yeah, you're the guy." Look at this.
Yeah, so you are that annoying guy. Call me all the time, and that's that's what it's taken in this market to because when you call, they're like, "Hey, somebody just fell out of contract," and guess what? You're the first person to know with your clients. So it makes a huge difference, having that.
Yeah, I wanted to bring this up just so people can see what he's talking about. So Mark. So here's what's great about the Georgetown area, and why I have a lot of clients that are also interested in this area. It's a long I-35, which takes you straight downtown, and it's easy access over to the Leander, Cedar Park, Liberty Hill area. And there are not that many lakes, like large lakes. There's one in Pflugerville. There's one in East Austin. There's Lake Travis, which a lot of people know about. And then there's one in Georgetown. And they're little smaller pockets. That's why
it's beautiful. That lake is beautiful.
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 And you can do camping and all sorts of stuff on this lake. And so, and you can even have boats out. This is one of those lakes where you can bring boats, right? So the Georgetown Wolf Ranch is over here. It's a huge shopping center.
Yeah.
This road is kind of bare right now, but they're building a lot of homes.
It won't be bare for a long time.
To fight daily traffic, this is a great area. But if you stay over to the east of 29 or to the west of 29, you can hop on either of these roads and get where you need to go. Plus, it's really close to the Georgetown Square, which is right over here, which is a historic downtown, the Blue Hole Park. So anyway, all that to say, you could look at dinosaur tracks along the San Gabriel. All that to say, it's a really, really hot area that people are moving to. So I understand the draw to the area. There is a new community right here in this section. I think it's right here or right here, where Wolf Ranch will have a brand new phase build. So there's a builder that's putting a whole new section in Wolf Ranch right here. And right now, I think you can start getting on the wait list, but there are no homes out there. That's how new this is. So secret sauce. I'm a nerd. Okay. Hold on. So we missed a couple comments. So I want to get to Miss Dill Pickle's comment. She says, "What will cause the prices to level off?" Can you pull out your crystal ball and help us go over this?
Hold up.
Yeah.
Well, if only I could, I definitely will. I'd love to. If I had to, put out there my best guess, I will make the prices level off. I'd say number one, increase on the interest rates, mortgage interest rates. They have been so low for such a long time that depleted our market, of homes like tremendously. That's a huge, if not the biggest thing. And it's not only Austin, it's a lot of other desirable cities that have really low inventory because this interest rates have been low for a very, very, very long time. So that will be, I think, the first thing for it to be, to calm off a little bit. And besides that, I don't see Austin or any surrounding areas getting any, less desirable anytime soon. Like, that's just the best way I can put it. I don't see that happening at all. If anything, it's going to get more and more and more desirable. So that will be the only thing that I can say it will level off, just the interest rates.
I think the interest rates, I agree that they will help slow it down, but I don't think that anything is going to cause it to regress. I don't think I think it's going to be a long while before we see prices go down. So, but as far as leveling off, yeah, interest rates are one way. right now, as houses are closing, that's what's causing these appraisal values to go up. And then time on market. Right now, people aren't releasing homes, but we're starting to hit spring. Spring break is notorious for when people have time to clean. So if they have time to clean, they have time to think about listing their home to sell. And that's generally when so many people will be doing it. It's ironic that we have this global situation. I can't say that word on the internet, on YouTube, but that global situation that causes us to wear masks. Because of that, being last year, everything was messed up. This year, like I just got a shot in my arm yesterday. So now I feel like Superman. So that is starting to happen. We have 10% of the population that's done that. People are going to start going back to some semblance of normalcy. And so I think that you're going to see a lot more homes starting to get listed as long as they don't have
I think so too.
Forbearance. As long as they don't have a forbearance.
They're going to feel a lot safer with having, because I do see this a lot. People are not comfortable listing their homes because, you know, they know that they're going to have people walking through their doors.
Yep.
And, you know, lots of people. So that makes a lot of people uncomfortable and not feel safe. So I think as we improve on this situation, as we called it, that will get better. More people, you know, willing to sell their home. Another thing is I have a lot of sellers on the fence because if they're not moving out to a different city or a different, you know, area, whatever, if they want to remain local, they're worried about not being able to get a home just in general. So that's going to be, you know, interesting. So I think it'll be great. I'm looking forward to it leveling off because as good as it is for my sellers, I'm hurting for a lot of my buyers. So
yeah. I think what'll happen is they'll level off at the higher prices that we're seeing right now.
Yeah, I don't think this
in the next few months, and then you'll start seeing longer days on market. Depending on the rush of people that are coming in, you still have a lot of people that are moving here. So you can't slow that down. You can't take a wait list that has 1,000 people and all of a sudden it only has 100 people. These companies are still relocating here. So it's gonna keep going for, in my opinion, it's gonna keep going for quite some time. I would love to be able to help more people get houses. So those of you that have been able to get under contract, congratulations. It is challenging and you should be proud. Seriously. It's great. Especially if you're staying local. Unless you're leaving Austin, that's easy. You know, we can list your house, make you tons of money, and you can go wherever you want as long as you have a place to go.
Really.
So that's great. There was small ones wake up. Oh, so I think Patrick was talking about the earthquakes. Yeah, I don't know if I could live in that environment. I sleep like a rock.
You'll be fine.
I sleep like a rock. I think it'd be okay. Mark pulled up the HEB on 129, 183 and 29. So yes, there is a huge HEB. Like I said, follow the HEB. It's not what you do with HEB, guys. Follow the HEB right here.
I've heard a different version of that.
Yeah. So it's going right here. And it's completely cleared out. They should have it put together real quick. This area where you have your Santa Rita Ranch, you have your Morningstar, you have your Bar W, your Rancho Siena. They're dropping an HEB right there. It is going to be huge, 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 and not far from North Line and what was the other one? Leander Springs. So this area is exploding,
booming,
and not everybody knows that.
Yeah.
I mean, the people that do obviously are getting themselves on lists. Sorry, I was up an area. So Morningstar. Over here, you have your Deerbrook, your Bryson, and your Orchard Ridge. But you have Orchard Ridge. Larkspur. That's a really good. You know, I
love Larkspur. My clients really like Larkspur too. It's really nice.
Huh. So Nellie asks a question. She says, "What other two builders do you love?" Ooh, you ladies first. Who do you love? What builders do you love?
You know, I'd say it depends on the price point, but general, just like, you know, not custom builders, but I'd say I really love Perry. It's one of my favorite builders. They have a great warranty. I feel like they're usually, their craftsmanship it's really nice. So I'd say Perry is one of my favorites. And who else would be Highland? I'd say Highland and Perry are, you know, definitely on my top list.
Sorry, I had to pull this up for a second. Abhinav says that the it's here, and he's correct. I was just there. I talk a lot sometimes, and I have to go back and check my information. So yes, it's not here. It is over here where 29 and Ronald Reagan are. Remember how I was saying it was by Rancho Siena and Morningstar and stuff? So this is where it's at. I just want to, thank you for letting us know that.
Okay.
So let's see, for my builders, see, this is a question I don't like to answer because I don't want people to think that I have
favorites.
Well, I mean, I have favorites. So one of my favorite builders, I really like Carruthers.
Okay.
So they're a semi-custom home builder, kind of like Drees. I think they take a lot of pride in their work. And they'll go above and beyond for the customer. And to me, that's impressive. But I've had a lot of builders do that. But if I had to pick, like if I had to choose somebody to build a home tomorrow, I like them. I like them a lot. With everything, when it comes to price point, when it comes to the size of their lots, when it comes to the finish outs and the floor plans, when you add it all together, I would say I kind of like them. But you know what? You said another one. You said Perry and Highland. I like Highland's floor plans a lot. I like Perry in that they have big window. Like everything feels so big.
I love
I'm a little guy, so it feels
windows.
Big.
Yeah, so and it really depends. I'd say depending on the community, I've seen builders do really different things with their with their products. So
Perry's thing was they did a lot of natural light and grand entrances, right?
Yeah.
They also they have a really nice warranty. Well, the thing about the grand entrances and the natural light is a trend that a lot of builders have been undertaking. So Guillen has started doing it. GFO Homes has started doing it. Highland is good with it. So that advantage is kind of waning.
It's not as unique. Yeah.
It's not as unique. Yeah. GFO builds beautiful homes. Love their homes.
A lot of homes seem to look like very similar actually from builder to builder. And I think it's just because they're building a product that most people like. They have heard what people want. Like nobody really this day and age wants a formal dining room that's just a room. Nobody wants it. So they've heard that people like an open floor concept. They've heard that they like high ceilings. They've heard that they like big windows. Like all of these things, it's just they're catering to that new buyer.
How do you feel about Toll Brothers?
Toll Brothers it's a great builder too. They make beautiful homes as well. I mean, from what I've seen, it's a higher end builder to me for the most part. What I've seen, so they have some nice product.
I think I'm gonna have to agree with you. It depends on what tier you're in, right? So, because if you're talking about, money is no object, then your Drees, your Carruthers, your Scott Felders, your Giddens, your Toll Brothers, money doesn't matter, right? When you're trying to stick within a certain budget, then you have to think about what's giving you the best value. So I have a lot of builders that I like for the value too. So I think that changes a lot. But maybe I answered your question, Nelly. I think I did.
And that's why I think my answer was really based on that, on value and quality. I think when you walk into some of this, builders like Perry and Highland, you see that you get more for your money. Basically, that's.
Yes, I want to talk about a couple other things. So we mentioned early on crime. I have a lot of people that say, "Is Austin diverse?" or "How's the crime?" or "How's the schools?" And as realtors, legally, we can't answer those questions directly. Because it's something called steering or discrimination or fair housing, or there's all sorts of reasons why we can't. And a minimum fine is like, last I checked, $10,000 for an occurrence if you don't lose your license.
Wow. That's the thing. Yeah, I'm like, I'll lose my license if I tell you.
So if someone says crime to you, how do you help them find where to move based on that question? Where's a safe area?
My first response to that question is, that's a great question. And then I send them to websites that can guide them as far as crime rates. Like if it's Austin, so the Austin Police Department, or whichever city they are trying to get to, look at those crime rates. Another great site is the sexual offender site, where you can tell where they live. So that's a good thing to look out for. And one of my biggest things is I tell them, hey, go drive out there. at different times of the day. Go drive out there in the morning, go drive out there at 6 p.m. when people gotten off work. Go drive out there, go to the park, go to the grocery store, go dine at a restaurant that's by that. Will give you a pretty good idea and a pretty good feel of what type of neighborhood you are in. So that's one of those things that I like to I tell them, hey, here's your homework. Go eat at these places, and it has to be really now. It has to be before, like ahead of time, because I used to tell people, we used to find a neighborhood and they like a house and they're like, we're not sure. What about the area? What about the crime? And I'm like, hey, how about this? The next couple of days, go and drive out there, dine here, explore the area. But now I'm like, if you do that, the house will be gone.
Yeah.
Like you can, you have to do that beforehand. So we have to be very, very clear about location, where you want to be, why you want to be there, and all the other things. And then, because we know that when the house comes in, we're going to have to move in quick.
Yeah. Yeah, that's such a good point. I don't think we have the luxury of waiting like we did before. So one of the websites that I tell people about is called Spot Crime. Mm-hmm. And I've mentioned this on the channel before, but I just want to bring it up because I think it's still kind of relevant. It shows the different crimes that have been reported. You got to realize not every crime has been reported.
Yeah.
It's really, really, really important to know. But the crimes that have been reported, it shows some of those things. So I'm going to pull this up, and I'm going to hit search this area. All right. So you can choose to get alerts, dismiss, and remember, this is just a website that might help you. So I'm pulling this up. So like this right here. Let me go. Look, graffiti.
Oh, yeah.
Vandalism, right? Well, this is Austin area. So graffiti's theft, burglary. Okay. So it's a really cool website for you to be able to decide based on that, what kind of crimes you're seeing. Okay. So I don't want to spend a lot of time on it, but I think it's such an important tool for people. If it's kind of like Waze, right? Waze helps you when the crowd of people also uses it.
Yeah.
But I also like your point about driving through a neighborhood. This is going back to leveraging your realtor. So
just
I'll go and
time there.
Yeah. Yeah. We can just turn and take video of the area, and then you can, it's just superficial, but you can decide from there if it's a place that you like or not.
Yeah. And I'm like, go spend time in that neighborhood. Whatever you do, just go spend time.
And I think that's why I have a lot of people that sort of, especially right now, one reason is they lean toward the new construction homes because they're like, it's brand new. Like it hasn't even developed its own culture yet, which I think is important.
It's a good point, so I guess you can't really base that on just because it's new, but some people are buying. I have some buyers that are like buying sight unseen from other cities. So, they're not able to do those. So the sites are the only thing they have to, to rely on as far as this. And then keep in mind that just like you said, just the crimes that got reported, and some of them are lagging behind, maybe even a few years as far as reporting and gathering that data. I think the side that you recommended is more up to date, which is great. But it
seems like it is. It seems like it's pretty up to date. So
it's always a hard question to answer for sure.
It is. Don said he came to Austin, spent a week-long trip from California to get a feel for potential areas, and really good money time spent. Yes, I think getting a feel for the areas, if possible, is absolutely value added. Like I said before, it doesn't matter where you get a place. I think you'll do all right. But as far as appreciation, but if there are the other factors that you're looking for, the only real way is using pictures or experiencing it. And so, Marysol, you said that they should go check out restaurants and stuff. That's huge because you get to, and I think we were talking offline and you said something about grocery stores.
Yeah. Okay. So I've gotten the grocery stores, and really, it's not just restaurants or groceries. Really, just like I said, in general, go spend time in that neighborhood that you're kind of considering. And that's because I have some clients that tell me, "Hey, I want to be in a neighborhood that has a strong, population of a certain demographic that they are, because they want to be, with their people. They like to have people with the same culture, and I've asked them before. So I'm like, so why is this important to you? Because that's important to me to know to really help them find this place that they want. And they tell me it's culture, is because we want our kids to have kids that they can relate to, and so on and so forth. And that's another question that we can't answer when they ask me, like, hey, how many of this certain demographic is in the neighborhood. And I'm like, I can't tell you that. So a really good indicator is go drive around in the neighborhood when people get off work normally, and then go to the park and go to the grocery store, and you will find out who lives there. Like, go to HEB, just like you said, go to the closest HEB, you will know who lives there.
Yeah, because if you look at some of these websites, like I think City Data or whatever, that's going off of the census. And not the new census, the one they just took in 2020, the one that they took in 2010. This place is so different than it was
ago. So different. Like,
everything
it's not even relevant anymore.
Right. So it's important that that you keep that in mind when you're looking. So let's see. Mark says he did the same thing as Don and checked out local eats and neighborhood. I agree. That's a strong way. Meet some awesome and welcoming neighbors in our future home neighborhood. That's good. If you have an opportunity to go, solid tip. Sorry, I was thinking about it. Anybody who's going to come visit Austin, don't stay in a hotel. Look for an Airbnb in the neighborhood that you want to stay in.
Smart.
That's a great way for you to get a solid feel for a neighborhood, and based on what your values are. Because I could tell you anything about a neighborhood, and you're still not gonna. I mean, you might trust me, but that doesn't mean it's going to be what you were looking for. So I'm going to pull this up too. This is Walter E. Long Park, and just because I didn't want to miss it, it's another one of those development areas, and it is right by Lake Walter E. Long on the east side of town. So anything that's being built over here, it's huge. Not only do you have Tesla that's bringing in a lot of money, but you have this development, gorgeous amphitheater, different events and stuff, food trucks, all that. And it's being built just to the right along 130. 130 is a toll road that goes all the way up from Georgetown down to South Austin here, past the airport, past Tesla, past Amazon, past Samsung. So I think it's an underrated area that's going to help a lot. Like, so anybody who's in this vicinity, it's going to be incredible. So I just wanted to share that real quick. I think it's semi-relevant to our conversation.
It's all relevant. There are so many areas that are just booming here, and there's so much potential.
So what do you tell people about schools? If they say, I want to be in a certain school, or what are the ratings about this?
Yes, I love that. So I tell them, first off, ratings, depending on where you are looking at the ratings, they could be very subjective. There are sites that you can check, ratings of schools, and there's sites that they have, gather some data, but they are relative. Now, if you look at just a school district, a lot of people are like, well, I want to be in Ian school district, or I want to be in Leander school district because it's, one of the best, or like Travis. And then within those school districts, you have to break it down to which school you're looking at. I have some clients, and I know they're used to this, and they're like, we only want 9s and 10s. Guess what? I can only get you that in Ian's, and you need 5 million. For me to give you a 9 or 10 elementary, 9 or 10, middle, and a 10 high school. Like, that's really what it is. So most of them are going to be a different rating for elementary, middle, and high school. So this is what I tell people. Tell me, in schools, first, it could be value, but most people that are really, really concerned about the school ratings is because they have children. So then I find out, okay, tell me more about your children. How old are they? So if we know that most people are going to stay in a house for 7 years, let's say 7 to 10 years. So if they tell me, oh, we don't have kids, but we're planning on having kids, I'm like, okay, let's focus on the elementary. Let's focus on having a really, really good elementary school. Some people tell me, they're in middle school, they're in high school. So then that's what we're focusing on, right? We don't care if the elementary is not as great, but let's focus on that high school that you really want to get into. And then even narrowing down the search to just the homes that feed into that particular school. So I try to make that specific. And if they really want something that's going to be, just good across the board, then we know that it's pretty reduced, the pool of homes that you can look at. And I'm just saying, like, as an example, Leander School District, right? Their schools are rated at 3 in Leander School District, and it's the second best, school district supposedly, right? But not everybody's going to Vandergrift.
Not everybody
to Vandergrift High School. You have to live in River Place to go to Vandergrift, right? Or maybe Steiner. So that's an Austin zip code. That's not even Leander, and that's Leander, school district. So it's very confusing for a lot of people. That's what I say, when they ask me about schools. First off, let's talk about the children and what age are they, and then focus on, elementary, middle, or high school.
Also, if they're special needs, or if they're a certain religious institution, or if you wanted a charter school or some other type of private school, there's so many variables in there.
Oh, there's so much.
This ISD, because that's not necessarily going to apply.
So I think you have to really talk about, just like I said, the children, right? Like, what's their age and what are they into? Because some of them are like, wow, I want a high school that has a really good, strong athletic or basketball program or football program, whatever. That's going to change things. Or maybe they have a special, needs child. Or actually going back to Whisper Valley and Del Valley schools, some people have told me, I love this place, but I'm not too crazy about the schools. But then there are some private schools are close by, and some charter schools for your children that are talented and gifted, or special needs or whatnot. So then you need to look into all those things. And then again, some people are like, I don't care if the school is not that great. We have money to send our kids to private school.
Yeah. So I'm gonna pull this up, and this is a website. It's called niche.com. There's also greatschools.org. I've mentioned those both on the channel before too, but I wanted to bring this up because you see this grade, and you see the different categories. Here's my question to you. So it says whatever it says. We know that it's over here. My question to you, Marysol, is what would you say is the price point for the homes in this area?
$2 million, maybe 1.5.
Starting.
Starting?
Yeah, I'm saying I agree with you. I think that's your starting price point.
Right? Like that's your that's just, I'm getting you a house in that district. Like, give me at least $1 million, at least.
I love this. I love this. School districts equal fake news. So here's the thing. And I just had this conversation with a client before we hopped on this live stream. There's such an influx of people that are moving here from all different places in the United States. I'll say I've had people that look like me, that look like you, that look like every single which way, that have relocated to different communities. And these websites, there's no way they can keep up. In fact, the closings won't even be taking place for the next 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months. And then once you have Tesla, and once you have Samsung's already here, but once you have all these mixed use developments and all those things, the change in environment is impactful. There's a huge change in the variety of things, like the diversity, the teachers. If they're adding 10 schools to a city, it's going to shake up some teachers. You're getting all new teachers. You're getting all new clubs and activities. So you can't, it's hard to just say that. Now, so when you're looking at these ratings, you got to think about them as a year or two old. Because what happened, the mask thing and the switch to blended learning has completely changed how everybody's handling these schools. So you can't necessarily look at a website. You can get an indication of how it used to be. Another thing, how much money is being poured in, tax money is being poured into an area such as
huge
Del Valley. It might not have the highest ratings according to these websites, but they're going to have so much money pumped into their community that as long as the school district does a good job with it, I'm not worried. That's all I'm saying. Yes,
Yes, and new construction. That's another wild card. Since we're talking
it
about
is.
new construction, a lot of clients are going to new construction. A lot of those new construction areas have new schools, and those have they don't even have a rating because they're so new. So
Maynard.
and
I want to talk about Maynard. Did you hear about their high school? They have like a tech lab where they have like a robotics lab inside of the high school in Maynard. Brand new
I
high
had
school.
no idea.
Gorgeous.
That's awesome.
Pflugerville, same thing. In the Pflugerville High School, Weiss, I believe it is, has a robotics lab in it too. I think it's a robotics lab. I interviewed the principal a couple years ago, and she was like, "Oh yeah, we're doing this and that." And so it's hard because these websites, they don't even know that those schools
No.
exist yet. I mean, they're starting to catch up. Weiss has actually been open for a while, but the grade school and elementary in that same section don't even have ratings.
Yeah,
So,
and that's just like you said, tax money is a huge driver. And I tell people, look, if your schools are not yet rated, but you're moving into this high-end neighborhood, that's beautiful. Trust me, those parents are not going to let their schools fall through because they're going to be pouring so much money into the schools. And the truth is, guess what? The teachers want to be working at the schools that they pay more.
So that's a perfect. So in Pflugerville, there's a neighborhood called Carmel. Beautiful neighborhood. Prices 2 years ago, or prices last year,
with it.
$300,000. You can get anything, whatever, any builder. Taylor Morrison, if you want, $300,000.
Wow, not anymore.
Today, you're looking at $450 starting.
Base.
And here's the killer. The tax rate is 3.1. Or it may have fallen to 3.0 or something like that when you can count the mud too. So the tax rate is much higher than a lot of other places in the area, or pretty high. And it's because they're putting that money into the schools. That's huge. So if you're paying that much, if a whole 1% of every new home that's being developed in that area is going into your school district and all 3 schools are there, as long as the parents
stay involved, worry about it.
Yeah, the parents stay involved, the community members stay involved, they hire the right staff, and the principal. Like I said, I've met the principal of Weiss. She's incredible. Or I say principal. What is she, like director of development or something like that? She's an incredible woman. She seems like she has her head screwed on straight. I'll call her out if I think she's crazy. Just saying. No, she's really cool. In fact, I need to go back and do that because I think that would be a benefit to a lot of people. So I wanted to bring this up for Abhinav. He had asked how the school rezoning works, and I think this is a very good question. So I'm pulled up the Austin ISD, and a lot of ISDs have these planning meetings that you can be a part of. So stay with the ISD's website, stick to that. And then also if you have community impact and Facebook groups. So for anybody who's not physically here, go look at Facebook groups. There's one called Moving to Austin. There's one called People of Round Rock. There's Pflugerville Friends with a P. Get involved in these Facebook groups and start asking those questions for the areas that you're looking in. But also, if you can hop on the ISD and you can get in some of these planning committees or watch their announcements, then you can see what they're going to do as far as rezoning goes. And maybe if you're already in that development, in that community, you can participate in some of their voting.
Yeah. So
that's a really good question. I love that. So when we were looking at that area before, Valerie says $800K starting. I don't know if you can get anything in Westlake for $800K.
I doubt it. Maybe something that needs a ton of work, and then you better believe there's going to be a ton of multiple offers on that.
Well, and here's another thing. I don't know if you know this, and so Westlake, most of that region, beautiful topography, high-rated schools according to niche and greatschools.org, but their tax rate, 1.8%.
Yeah. I'm glad that you bring this up, and I've had this question from a lot of my buyers. They're like, why is Leander 3.1 or like 3.02, whatever, which is high compared to, Westlake or Southwest Austin, which is still 2.2, 2.3, a lot lower than 3. I had the same question. I'm like, yeah, this kind of, it sort of doesn't make sense that downtown and all these places are, are quote unquote more desirable and closer to town. They have way lower, tax rates. So I'm like, I'm on a mission. I want to find out why is this. So I called the tax assessor office, and I was told that the reason is because the newer the places or the community, the more money they need for new roads. They need a new school, like on, say Circle C, Southwest Austin. I'm just saying, or Westlake. The schools are already built. The roads are already built. There are maintenance costs, yes, but everything is already there. And guess what? When you come to Liberty Hill, Leander, all these newer areas, new developments, they need new parks, they need new schools, they need new roads, they need new lights, they need everything is new, and all that is very expensive. So that's the reason why taxes are higher in these areas.
See, and that goes right back to whether or not they have to run gas lines out to the community.
Exactly.
And if they have to build amenity center for the community. Not only is it your HOA that you're paying for to keep it, the maintenance going, somebody's got to pay that water bill, but also to build it. And so they're often getting municipal utility district for
you get a mud tax.
Planned urban development and all these different types of additional tax to be able to create these changes.
They're very expensive. Just landscape in a neighborhood is really up there. As you know, I live in a newer home community, and I found out that our amenity center was $10 million to build.
Yeah.
It's a pool and one small gym. Like it's not 10 million.
Yeah. Do you have gas in your neighborhood? You do, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, that's another point. So I have people that they're like, oh, well, I want to live in Round Rock because the taxes are lower. And I'm like, so it depends on where you are. And this goes back to what we were just saying.
Yeah.
There are some places in Round Rock where the taxes are really low. So my neighborhood tax rate is 2.23. Thing is, I don't have any amenities, but I was okay with it because this was a primary residence, all sorts of things. I wasn't going to use the amenities, all that. So all that to say, you can go to another place in Round Rock and the tax rate is literally 3.2%. And then you're going to be in Hutto schools. Like, wait, what? So I'm paying for Hutto development, but I live in Round Rock? Yeah. Yes, you do.
Yes, you do. Do they have more amenities?
Oh, yeah, it's gorgeous. I mean, so like an example is it Sienna or Sienna in Round Rock? I think it's one of those. And the tax rate's really high. Hutto schools, depending on what phase you're in, until they've finished building out schools. And that's where they put the Kalahari. That's where they put, that's where the Dell Diamond is. So like there's a lot of development in that area, but at the same time, you're going to a different school than you anticipated, and the tax rate's really high. So it's still Round Rock. It's just not what people often expect when they're first coming here, if someone doesn't explain that to them up front. So
and how long does it take to really know that about each area? Like I think people underestimate, the knowledge that you have to have as us, realtors. Like, how much data that is. It's taken years for me to be familiar with most areas in the city. And you cannot read that, you cannot buy that. It takes time.
It does take time. It's kind of not tribal knowledge, but acquisition of knowledge and experience. I think one thing that's important, and we've talked about this, but anybody, getting a pre-qualification on a home, not relying on Zillow, Redfin, or even my website. I like my website, but it doesn't matter because you won't necessarily know the tax rate for an area or the HOA fees. I was talking to a client about a HOA transfer fees and that. So if you get a pre-qualification from a lender, give them 3 houses in 3 neighborhoods so that they can figure out what those prices are, or ask your realtor, same thing. Yeah. What are the payments, like work with the lender, what are the payments going to be for that kind of thing? Because it'll tell you. Yeah, with the HOA, the homeowner's insurance and the tax rate all change based on every individual community and sometimes even phases within the community. Yeah. So important. Nelly says, thank you. You're very welcome. This is the kind of stuff that I think people need to hear. And we love being able to share it, but it's hard. It's hard to, because, we say this a lot. Oh, you would like that neighborhood because X, Y, and Z, but that requires us getting to know you a little bit.
Oh yeah. It takes me a few showings to really, kind of understand what they like. And then I a lot of times I surprise them. I'm like, I know you haven't considered this, but let me show you something. I'm like, we love it. How do you know? And I'm like, because I've spent some time with you. And sometimes people tell you this is what I like, and it's not.
You're right. This is a really interesting question from Don. He says, any advice on movers? Rates are insane from California right now. Rightfully so. I think they play the capitalism game just like airlines and all that. So people are moving from, that's one of the places that a lot of people are moving from.
So cross country moving.
Mm-hmm. Here's
what's your take
about it? What's my take?
So it really depends on what are you transporting. I found that most of my California buyers moving here, the most cost effective thing that they've done is they've sold most of their stuff and then they come down and buy it again. They said it was cheaper than actually moving all that stuff. But if you have a lot of heirlooms or, really high-end furniture or things that, you definitely want to keep, then you're just there's no other way about it. They're going to charge you. You're going to have to pay it. So if it's worth it to you, move it. If it's not, sell as much as you can and buy it here.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. I'm going to add a creative caveat to that. Buy a camper or a tiny home, fill it with stuff that you have to keep, bring it here, and then sell it. People are paying so much money for campers and tiny homes in Texas right now. You can sell it and maybe even double your money. And I don't know if it's easy to get there, but if it is, that would be awesome. So, and that might not be realistic, but I look into it. Just look into it.
Just look into it.
Just look into it.
That's a new one. I haven't heard of that before.
Otherwise, yeah, I think trying to best place to buy stuff. That would be a good video. Give me some ideas there, Mark. I appreciate it. I like it. All right, so we are
like what stuff? Like furniture or?
Yeah, I think so. Oh my gosh. $8,700 to move their 2-bedroom house.
$8,700. Okay.
Here's a tip. One tip is don't go to the main cities. So don't look for a moving van in Austin or that you're dropping off in Austin. So when we moved here, the difference between dropping it off in Austin versus dropping it in Hutto, so we dropped it in Hutto, it was thousands of dollars of difference.
Really? So how do you move it from Hutto to?
Well, you go. So we just said kind of like airline. Like if you're flying into the small Georgetown airport or Dallas or Houston instead of Austin, the prices change. So it's the same thing with the movers. So if you do a moving truck from whatever smaller city in California to a smaller city here, a suburb here, then the prices should adjust. And then that way, you go and do it. It might be a little bit of a hassle when you're returning it. But if it saves you $300, $400, could be worth it. It's a small drive. Also, gas. Don't pay for them to fill up your gas.
So 8,700. I'd say start do an inventory of what you're trying to move. How much is it? How much it was? How much would it be for you to buy it new? Like most.
Joy said, "Ouch." Yeah, that's a lot, man. So I ended up. Moving from Chicago. I say Chicago. It was actually in between Chicago and Milwaukee, a little place. I lived in Kenosha, Wisconsin at the time. So only people from there actually know what I'm talking about. So I loaded up a 24-footer. I put my motorcycle inside and I got a trailer with my car that I put my car on the back and then drove cross country. I think I ended up spending, you're going to hate this, something like $3,500, something like that. It wasn't a lot. But but also, you know, it's from Chicago, but I also dropped it off in Hutto. That's why I said Hutto, someplace smaller. So yes, I think photo nerds, thank you. I think that is one of those things that can help out. Oh, and clear your browser history, just like with flights. Clear the browser history. The moving companies can't tell that you're looking for moving, or if you go incognito, and they might give you a better deal.
Oh, wow.
I'm a nerd.
I did not know that.
I really am.
You live and you learn.
And so let's see. UPAC has the cheapest I could find, $7,000 to move a three bedroom. That's a large. Yeah, I had a studio that I was relocating from. So it's fine. Incognito mode for the win. Yes. They can't change your prices based on what they know about you, unless they're going deeper with like IP and stuff. Okay. So it is 4:00 p.m. I just wanted to say thank you everybody for being so participative. I think that's been awesome. Hopefully we've answered at least some of your questions. You said stealthy Ian tips. I love it. So Marysol, if you have one last tip for people that are choosing a place in Austin, what would you tell them? What would you share? Most important thing.
Most important thing. First off, settle on location and why is that important to you. Write down the why. That's the first thing I try to find out for my clients when they tell me, just like you said, hey, I want to be in Round Rock. Why do you want to be in Round Rock? Is it because you want to be close to work? Is it because you want the schools? Is it? And then let's see where we can go as far as possibilities. You know, we might be able to extend that range and get you something that's better for you. So
I love that.
Be very clear about your why. Yeah,
why you want to live in a certain place. I'm just going to echo that same sentiment. I think knowing why you want to be somewhere. If you are an avid, I think I had a client whose son is very much into BMXing. I love that. And I'm like, you know what's so funny about that? I was at the Pflugerville Bike Park. I've been to the one in Leander. I've been to the Walnut Creek. I've been to Onion Creek. And I had no idea that was even a relevancy.
A thing, yeah.
A thing to them. But I go do all this stuff. So that's great. I'm like, oh, I can tell you exactly where you want to be near because of that.
And those are the things that you only find out when you ask why.
Mark, dude, thank you so much. You've been very, like I said, communicative, just helpful in sharing your knowledge with other people or asking inquisitive questions so that we can answer them to help everyone else. So thank you very much for the super sticker. This is a joke. I think for sale by owners, you must have seen me. So I was on Jeremy Knight's channel, and we talk about Treviso all the time. Oh my gosh!
I could talk about Treviso.
Oh my god, 1,000 lists. They just stopped with wait lists. 3 years out. It's just never asked about Treviso. That's the worst. I do want to say so. Marysol is going to be on our Real Migos podcast that we're starting up with Jeremy and Kevin Knight on Tuesday. So if you want to watch more about what's going on in the Austin area, check us both out there. And then Marysol, for anybody, that's funny. Thank you. Thank you for sale by owners. So for anybody who wants to reach out to Marysol, what I'm going to do is you can send me your Instagram or any contact information you want to share, and I'm going to put it in the bottom of this video. So whoever's there can just go directly to her if you wanted to reach out. And thank you so much for spending the time having this conversation with me.
Thank you for having me on your podcast, Ian. It has been so much fun. It's been great. So my first time. So
I love it.
Really nice.
Thank you all for watching. And